Banging the drum for a new form of borrowing. Snap Studios in North London, one strand of a growing audio gear business that last year decided to bypass the banks when looking to borrow and use Funding Circle, an online money marketplace or peer-to-peer lender where individual savers lend directly to businesses.
We had a strategy for growth in overseas markets, and the traditional route we've always previously used has been to go to the bank. During the course of my discussions, we stumbled across Funding Circle, and I like the concept of actually feeling that human beings were investing in the business. It introduces a greater degree of responsibility on our part, on the one hand, but also, if you like, sharing the adventure with all and sundry, rather than just dealing with a faceless computer.
Peer-to-peer portals work by allowing savers to lend their cash out to individuals or businesses. The site acts as a middleman, credit-checking borrowers fully and grading them according to risk. The interest rate earned by the lender will vary according to this risk. As money goes direct to real people and businesses rather than into a bank, any losses are taken on by the lender. But even with this bad debt factored in, interest rates are still very competitive.
If you want to make a good return, which is beating inflation at the moment, if you're looking at a bank product, you might have to lock in your money for up to 5 years. With us, you don't have to do that. On top of all of that, you get to support small businesses and really see what your money's doing. So I think that gives a different appeal to kind of savers than they can get through any other financial product.
And the peer-to-peer finance sector is certainly growing. Since its inception in August 2010, Funding Circle has lent to over 650 small businesses, just like these studios here in North London. And the biggest site in the industry, Zopa, had its largest month this January, with its users lending over £8 million between them. And all this has happened without any regulation from the Financial Services Authority. And that's part of the reason why last year, the three biggest players in the industry, Zopa, Funding Circle and RateSetter, set up the Peer-to-Peer Finance Association, a self-regulatory trade body. Giles Andrews is the chair of the Peer-to-Peer Finance Association and the CEO of Zopa. I asked him what the aims of the trade body were.
We set it up for two principal reasons. One, we wanted to provide some sort of safety net for consumers, something that told people that there were some minimum standards that operators followed. And secondly, we wanted to create a sort of joint lobbying effort, because we have some quite strong views on some things that government could and we believe should do for our industry.
Do you think there's an issue that savers and lenders just can't quite get their head round the idea of lending money to someone that's essentially a stranger online and then expecting it to get it back?
Well, I think increasingly they are getting their head around it. So you're seeing quite significant growth in the three businesses I've referred to. We've all been working hard at trying to be as transparent as we can and doing what we can to promote trust. But obviously regulation will be a considerable help in that regard.
But the government have so far stopped short of regulating this new industry, though the Department for Business, Innovation and Skills did recently give its endorsement to the codes of practice laid out by the sector's trade body. Ridian Lewis is the co-founder and CEO of peer-to-peer lender RateSetter.com. I asked him why the government was so reluctant to regulate.
They seem to be keen to sort of cut down on what they perceive as sort of red tape, and are keen for businesses just to grow. And they may feel that at this stage, particularly with our self-regulatory code in place, peer-to-peer has a good chance of growing outside of that.
And it certainly worked for Snap Studios, who are now continuing their expansion overseas and growing by the day.
It was quite nice to say to the bank, no thank you, we don't need you. You may need us in the future, but we don't need you just at the moment.